Tell me a story about a time when you felt like you had a lot of body image issues.
Okay. I'd say probably, I don't know, I think around like just during high school time in general is like when a lot of people get it. And I think it's like just a lot of like awkward teen years. And it's just like people, like especially like your friends around you, like they're like, oh my God, I need to like lose weight. So then it's like maybe not from like yourself that you're like, I need to lose weight or I need like to look like this way, that way, but more like projected from other people on you, I guess. So I'd say like around like not like a specific time, but just like high school in general is like probably when things like that started becoming more apparent.
Why was that the hardest time for you, do you think?
I think just because it's like super developmental years, and like that's when you kind of start caring more about what others think about you, and like just like maybe it's like you see like the other way, like the way that other people are looking and the other way that people are developing, and like you're like you see like it's like you don't realize how different everyone is at that point, and you're like, well, why don't I look like that, or why whatever, like that it's like you see like other people look a certain way and your friends look a certain way, and like instead of realizing that like everyone is so different, and like rightfully so, and like that's just how people are made and built, that it's like you want to look exactly like someone else.
And why was that like so hard to deal with at the time?
I think it's just a lot of like personal like back and forth and battles, and like one part of you is like, why don't I look like this, or like I need to look this certain way, and then another part of you realizes that like you don't need to look this certain way, but like a lot of the times like the negatives outweigh the positives, so it's like that part of you is like kind of like overbearing over the part of you that's like, you're fine, like don't worry about it.
So how do you deal with that now?
Just realizing, like, coming to terms with the fact that everyone is different, and realizing that like the way you are is perfectly fine, and like you're not like and even if you are on like this like journey of like change or like recovery or whatever, that like your step 1 isn't going to look the same as someone's step 26 or whatever, that like everyone starts somewhere else, and everyone works differently, and different things work for different people.
When or why did you like come to terms with that?
Just kind of like, I don't know, building more self-esteem, self-confidence, and like making the changes that work for me, and like making the changes that work for myself, and not like, and like taking influence from other people, but not like, but also realizing that like certain things are going to work differently for me, and not like I'm not going to work the same way as like you will, or as someone else will.
Was there like a specific point that you had that realization?
Not super specific of like this day, this time, this whatever, but like maybe like I'd say probably around like end of freshman year of college, probably.
How did you deal with freshman year of college?
Not well. It was, I like didn't realize really that like things were quote unquote wrong until like the end of freshman year, when like I was like moving back home, and like just like part of like my old life, I guess, like, and not this like new transition stage, and like it was like that time where I realized like that it wasn't, I'm trying to put this the right way, that like it was like during the year I didn't realize that like things weren't right, I guess, but then it was like after the fact, and like looking back on the year, and like kind of reflecting on like what went wrong, and like why I didn't feel so great, and like why I was unhappy, and then it like you realize kind of what it leads back to and what influences other things.
So how do you deal with being a third year college student now? Like the day to day.
Yeah, the day to day, I mean, it's a lot of like, I've realized that I'm just a big creature of habit, and like I don't work well with like, I'm very routine. So staying within my routine and like doing the things that I know work for me, eating the foods that I know work for me, and like just kind of more of working like for myself and like living for myself instead of living for other people, and not like doing things that work for me and things that make me happy instead of like being pressured by other people. And like in the end,
is there like a specific thing or like a couple things?
Not super specific, but just kind of, I don't know, like realizing that like it's okay to, you know, take a day for yourself, or like if you want to go out, like you can go out, and then like suddenly you realize like, oh, I don't really want to be out anymore, I want to go home. And it's like not feeling bad when like you don't want to be somewhere, but like all your friends are somewhere, and it's like not the end of the world if you're not there with them. And like just like realizing that like, I don't know, just like changing like the ways that other people kind of influence me, instead of like if I'm out with friends, like eating, for example, and like they order something that I know doesn't work with my body, like I'm not going to sit there and order the same thing because they're eating that, you know? Like I'm not going to sit there and ruin my body and like screw everything over in my own organs or whatever, like intestines, because like they're eating that and I need to eat that too. It's like you just like realizing like what works for me, and like I mean different things work for different people, you know?
So why is body image not awesome, and like struggling with that?
I think because it's a lot of internal and personal struggle that people don't see. So like it's different than like a broken bone that like people can see. It's like, or like a bruise, or like it's not like surface level. So like people, unless you really let people in, they don't know if you're struggling. So it's like it's a matter of like it all comes down to you and your own brain, and like what you want to share and to what extent that you want to share that. And so I think it's kind of this like stigma around it that like you don't know that like other people are kind of dealing with similar things, maybe because they're not talking about it and you can't see it from like the outside. But I think if people were, I don't know, like maybe more open about it, or like just like a little, I mean, don't go around like spewing your issues on other people, but like just more kind of, I don't know, like making it a little less taboo, and like being more open about like talking about these things, and just kind of acknowledging that they exist and that they're valid and that they're there, and would make things a lot easier. And I think make it a lot easier for people to deal with these struggles, just because like it's easier to go through things when you know that you're not alone.
So when you're struggling inside, how does it like make you feel?
Shitty. Just not like, I don't know, I kind of I use like a cloud analogy a lot, and I always say that like sometimes like my brain is like cloudy and like my head feels foggy, and that's like on like my worst days, it's just like you kind of feel like you're moving in slow motion, and like your brain is just like a total fog, and like nothing, it's like the whole world is like happening around you, and you're kind of like going through the motions and like watching it. And then it's like you do something, maybe like you work out or you do something that like helps you, and then suddenly it like you feel it lift, and you're like, oh my god, I felt so bad yesterday, or I felt so bad 2 hours ago, and like it was so hard on me. And like I don't know, it's just like I always like compare it to like clouds, and like a cloudy, just like super gross and like gloomy. Yeah.
Thanks.